It's been said a bard's life can often be a hard life, or hill and dale to rove and always move from town to town. And some folk have inquired if ever we grow tired of ranging all around the world and never settling down.
But one should be a little wary of remaining stationary, 'cause comfortable is lovely, but it's not the way we grow. When life starts to unravel, pick up your pack and travel. You'll find a strange serenity in places you don't know. Wriggle-dee-dum-dee-doo-da-terry-o-dee. There's so much to see beyond the open door. It's outward bound we go. Who knows what we'll find that we've never found before. Adventures waiting further down the road. It's waiting for you further down the road. You've got no map for showing which direction you are going.
But why start on a journey if you know where it will end?
And once you recognize,
to anticipate surprise, you'll relish every twist and turn that lies around the bend. Wriggle-dee-dum-dee-doo-da-terry-o-dee-da-dee-da-dee. There's so much to see beyond the open door. It's outward bound we go. Who knows what we'll find that we've never found before. Adventures waiting further down the road. It's waiting for you further down the road.
Has got its demons. There are many reasons why you'd find it harder to be brave than be afraid.
But every life could use some danger. Every friend was once a stranger. Ships are safe in harbor, but that's not why ships are made.
Wriggle-dee-dum-dee-doo-da-terry-o-dee-da-dee. A fwit-da-dee-da-dee. There's so much to see beyond the open door. It's outward bound we go. Who knows what we'll find that we've never found before. Adventures waiting further down the road. It's waiting for you further down the road. Adventures waiting further down the road.
Let's go!
Greetings, friends, and welcome to another edition of Gothic Horror Gaming here on Nat 21 Adventures. I'm your host, the Gloom Master, Tom Zadoyko. And before we get started with anything, I just want to take a moment to thank all of our sponsors. We have our regular cast of characters helping us out here. First of all, 3DTU, 3DTU.org. Jesse and Amy over there making fine gaming products for us all. Go check them out at 3DTU.org. Also, we have our lovely, trying to find the graphic for it. There it is. Destination D&D coming up soon. We have our New Orleans trip, well, soonish. Time just flies. In November this year, November 19th through the 23rd down in New Orleans. Come on down, tour the spookiness that is New Orleans in the French Quarter. You'll get on tours. You'll see various sites. You'll also game in between there, playing 5e in New Orleans itself. And it culminates in a trip to the Louisiana Renaissance Fair up on the North Shore, where you will see many of the same people who are on this channel performing at that Renaissance Festival. You can find that at renadventures.com or at destinationdnd.com. They're planning for next year for their castle excursion over in England again, so keep on the lookout for that. That should be coming up rather soon. And finally, I would be remiss if I did not plug ourselves. My wife, Melissa Lee, she is Handler Z here on the channel. She has written a book of short fiction and poetry, mainly either horror or sci-fi, or sometimes both. So check that out. It's on Amazon as an ebook or as a paperback, or the Audible version is narrated by yours truly. So check us out over there. Also want to let everybody know that there is also a bit of a hitch tonight. We were going to start the game that we all created together here last week. But unfortunately, several of my players, through unexpected circumstances, one of them COVID actually, are unable to attend. Everybody's fine. It's just we're delaying. And as a result, we're going to get some bonus players that you haven't seen on Gothic Horror Gaming in a while, if at all, coming up on the 21st. We'll have something else planned for you next week, but the game itself is going to run then. Just to let everybody know also that this is a horror role-playing game channel. So we do deal with topics that can be a little bit iffy to some people. Violence, gore, violence toward minors, spelled with an E and an O. Both have happened in the same episode here on this channel. So just be aware that happens. And sometimes we veer off into slightly more adult language. So, oh, yes. One of the players is in the Twitch stream right now and is waving and coughing at us, unable to speak. So that's one of the reasons why we had to delay. But please, no spoilers in the comments about the game that is to come, because one of the players is actually here today. May I present, ladies and gentlemen, to the stage, Dan Kostelik.
Hi!
So Dan will be playing that game in 2 weeks' time. So we're going to stay away from that as a topic. We want no spoilers. We want it to be a surprise for him, as well as for everybody else.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing about how we play the games on this channel, because it's also a show, of like, yeah. So we want the actual gaming experience, but hey, let's prep things up with characters possibly beyond a regular making your character sheet stuff of, like, because we're so often going into costuming, character voices. Let's work on dialects. Some people go real heavy with makeup, and
Handler Z being amongst them. Yes.
Yeah. And we have usually very little idea of where a game is going until like episode 3 or 4.
And as the game master, I really want it to be that way. At least when I think all the game masters on this channel, both our regular Tuesday night games and everything, we as much as this is a broadcast, a show for all of you, it is still a game, and really damn fun for us too. So we want to keep the elements of what makes the game fun, and surprises are part of what makes it fun.
Yeah, usually when I'm usually this is my only game going on. So sometimes I'll have amazingly 2 games in a week happening because I might be on the Tuesday night show and then this, but then I don't normally have a regular game, so it's just this is what I have.
Yeah,
So.
I lament that very much sometimes being on the road because traveling, doing Renaissance fairs like most of us do, there is not enough time for us to have established gaming groups.
No.
A lot of the virtual tabletop things have helped out a lot.
Yeah.
Things like Roll20 and the like. But even that, with our schedule, sometimes it gets really hard. I have a Pathfinder game, first edition Pathfinder game. That's how long this campaign has been going on. It's been going on for over 5 years now.
Confirm that crit.
And we're doing a Pathfinder story arc, the Iron Gods story path. They are 5 books long. We only just started book 5, and it's like what, 5 years later since we started this thing.
How much time has happened in how much time has elapsed in Game World?
In Game World time, it's measured in less than 2 years, probably.
Okay.
It probably more like 10 months of game time, and a lot of that game time is eaten up by, hey, we spend a week resting and building new items and that sort of stuff. So, but it's hard. We haven't played now in almost 2 months. So Ryan Gelotti, Steve O'Dockerson, Andy Hayes, Lord Mortem, if you're out there, we need to get together and game again.
Oh, this sounds like an amazing group. Oh my god.
Oh, it's Hob the Troll, Steve O'Dockerson.
Yeah.
It's my sword fighting partner. Ryan Gelotti is actually the game master. Andy Haynes is an Orlando gentleman who writes for attractions magazines and that sort of thing.
I know that magazine.
Yeah. So he's one of their writers. So he'll often go out and review the new rides that open at theme parks before they are open to the public, kind of thing.
Oh, what a great gig.
Yeah. In addition to other theater stuff, he does, various theater gigs as well, but that's his bread and butter. The gentleman I mentioned, Lord Mortem, he in real life, he's a fellow monster at Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor in Disney with Ryan Gelotti. So it's great. Like, we're all performers or a performer adjacent. And so
yeah,
it's a,
of course,
it's a great time whenever we actually get to play.
I did on a game where I was the DM. I had a game where every single member of my party except one in real life. Yep. Hobthetroll at bandcamp.com. Make sure you go there and support apparently everybody on this channel.
It has become our joke. That is our default. Like, if we don't have anything that we're plugging, we all say that now.
Hobthetroll.bandcamp.com. Even if we do have things we're plugging, it's still like, and you can go get mine. Yeah. So hopefully that has given him some good sales. I said it on my show yesterday morning.
Excellent.
But everybody except it was a party of 6, and 5 of the people were engineers of one sort or another. I had a structural engineer. I had a computer engineer. I had a chemical engineer. I mean, like, it was crazy. And then the final person was in sales, and was the bard of the group, just continually trying to.
Person was the bard. All right.
Yeah. It was so perfect. And this group of mostly engineers beat the ridiculously overpowered big bad in 1 round.
Yep.
Because they basically mathed their way through it. And it was like, and that was a first for me. And I'm like, I've never seen that. And like, it's the stuff that I would always dislike D&D for in my early 20s, because it's like, oh, it's just all numbers and I don't like that. And then I started playing later with TJ Miller, Lords of Adventure. For those of you who want to know, he's Roger Awesome. I was playing with him, and it was just a bunch of actors, and I'm like, oh, this is fun now. Okay, so
which is not to say what. So the one
for
guy
me, it was fun.
For you, right?
Yeah.
Andy Haynes loves number crunching in our Pathfinder group, so he really digs trying to figure out, especially the old original Pathfinder rules are very number crunchy, because there was no advantage, disadvantage. It's all pluses and minuses and adding them up and taking them down. It wasn't as bad as Thacko, Sir David Percival, but and even Thacko, you could easily figure it out. It wasn't that hard. It's way more streamlined now with just AC that's what you need to hit. Hooray. But Andy really likes crunching numbers and coming up with those things. And that's when he gets a chance to do that in our games, he gets a great deal of enjoyment out of it.
Sure.
I like when I'm playing in a game, I like more creating the character and creating moments with the character that are fun and different. Like in that long running campaign, one of my characters died in book 3 or so. He was slain, got ambushed by a Nathalgu, which sucked out his lucked out, got a critical hit on him, confirmed it, took him unconscious, and then another one had yet to act, and it moved up and coup de grace me, and that was it. I had no chance at all. Just bam, dead. The party then spent all of this money to try to bring him back. They perform the resurrection, but in the resurrection spell, it says only if the subject is willing. My character's backstory was he was looking for his family. Turns out they were already dead. So when he dies, he's like, I don't need to look for them anymore. They're here. I'm not going back.
You were already in the Elysian Fields, Maximus.
Exactly. But I mean, I did it in it was a much better moment. And Ryan Gelotti, who was running the game, normally it would be just like, oh, nobody doesn't want to come back, done. But he made an entire dream sequence where they came into the afterlife, found him sitting by a campfire, my character sitting by a campfire, and tried to convince him to come back. And he explained why he didn't want to. And then at the end of it, they're like, no, we get it. And it was really cool. So those are the moments that I live for when I'm playing.
I love that. I am so looking forward because I've played so many times with him now. What, half a dozen campaigns with him on Gothic Horror Gaming with you. I've done so many with him here. I'm looking forward to finally meeting him this November down in Florida.
Oh, who? Ryan?
Ryan, yeah. I don't think I've ever met him in person.
You've never met Ryan? Oh my God.
No.
All right.
No,
well,
I'm
looking in
Louisiana.
So yeah.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. Oh, I'm going to Florida as he goes to Louisiana. All right, and so I'll see him after that. Then I'll see him 2 weeks after that. Then okay, cool.
Yeah. He's there. We're there as Buckle and Swash at Louisiana Run Fair for the whole run.
That's excellent. Oh, that makes me happy.
So when you get over there, we get to run into him.
That's excellent.
Do you have a favorite little moment like that for any of your characters?
Goodness. I've had a few. And most of them I met you, a rando Victorian, but not one of my channel co-stars, because you paid money to hang out with me. Ooh.
The Renaissance Fair circuit is weird because it's not a set circuit, and it's just by luck of the
everyone
draw,
has their own circuits. Yeah, with some years, with some of our colleagues, our circuits are the same, and it's our Venn diagram is just a stack of pancakes, and that's lovely. And then there's folks I see for exactly 1 weekend a year, and it's a wonderful, delightful time. And others, it's interspersed, or I haven't seen them in years, like Lynx. I have not seen Lynx since 2021. Lynx Kim.
I've seen Mab. I've met Mab in person briefly twice now over the span of however many years. So
yeah. But I've had a few. Moke and Dare had a. I didn't pay money to hang out with me specifically. All right. Yeah. Paula was there too. And Chris Koya, Automanjanu. Yeah, Moke and Dare, my first Nat 21 character, was pretty great. And he was short-lived, and then we brought him back in a little one-shot for like 3 minutes as a surprise character, and then in the most recent Into the Feywild, we brought him back again, and he had some a few beautiful moments. Of one of them was the realization that because he was because the character had died, and but now he's back. How is he back? But he's the same, but he's different. And he was an amalgamation between Mab's character of Kazoo, her memories of him, along with a character like the dwarf who told lies or something like that. And it's like this dwarf, whenever he would boast, the dwarf who boasted too much. That's what Paolo had come up with. And whenever he would boast, his beard would just get bigger and bigger and bigger, and like turned it into a rope at one point.
Tokyo, got it. Yeah.
Yeah. But not for lying, just for boasting, like making things overly dramatic. And
Frank, I'm sorry. Frank just joined us. Frank B. Will Passion.
Will
we
Passion.
had several of our players had to bow out tonight, so we're postponing. But Dan is here as a player, so right now we're just kind of a free for all. If you have any questions for us, please feel free to put them in the comments. But right now we are talking about memorable character moments. Not just dice rolling and numbers and all that, but like interesting character scenes, things that they did that, maybe something that tugged at the heartstrings or something like that. Which is, I think, a big part of horror, especially. If you don't have that,
my God,
horror doesn't matter.
Yeah, otherwise it's just jump scares. And messed up stuff. Yeah, for Moken, it was when he was finally able to realize, and he was not an intelligent character, but when he finally realized that he was not a real boy, and he had to stay in the Feywild if he wanted to continue, but also was willing to give things up in order to try to save his friends, and that's the fun thing about this art form, because it is an art form. It's not just a game. If you have a good DM who's a good storyteller and can set the table for you, and I think you are very much a very good game master.
Well, thank you
in that regard. You're able to let the players, your characters, just have these beautiful moments, and some of them are maybe a little contrived, as in thinking about it slightly in advance, but others can be such things of the moment, and then just such beautiful, genuine pieces. Like if the person or people are really in it and just in that moment, it can be so beautiful, and I absolutely love it.
It's a fine line, but there are times when I just let you guys talk, and I try not to move the story along, because sometimes you're going down a character background reveal moment, and I'm like, nope, I'm not going to force them to get on to the next thing, because this is important. We want to go from that.
We turned Montana Smith into an accidental murderer of Italian fascists.
Yes, we did. That was
even though we kept talking about it and joking about it, which is kind of dark, we didn't really deal with it for a while.
No.
Yeah.
So people are asking. We've got several questions that have jumped in. So let's address those real quick. First of all, Victorian London Fog asked favorite Gothic horror gaming campaign for either of us. I have one immediately, but
okay, I want to hear it.
The very first one I ran was the you weren't around yet, Dan, but it was the Irish one. The very first Gothic horror game. It was set in Ireland. There was essentially a I stumbled across, just in my normal everyday life, just looking around at things. I stumbled across the god Crom, ancient Celtic god Crom, which obviously is used in Conan. But it actually was historically true, and I found some references. That sent me down a rabbit hole. I'm like, oh well, where is Crom referenced? And there was in Ireland, in Ballymagoran, there was a place called the Plain of Adoration, where there was reported in one of the ancient Christian texts from that era, when the monks were coming in, about I think Book of Kells ish, but not. There was a statue, a golden idol to Crom, surrounded by 12 lesser idols, and it's all in like rhyme. And one of the translations could be that they sacrificed a third of their production to Crom to ensure future success. I then extrapolated on that. And then the reason why it's referenced is because St. Patrick comes in, beats it to the ground, and trods the golden idol underfoot and flattens it and destroys it. And then I went, what if some unscrupulous jerk found that gold, which is still infused with the spirit of Crom, and did something with it? Would that unleash Crom? And so I made this whole storyline where this corrupt, vainglorious priest in the 1700s, when he was excavating to build a new foundation for his church, found this gold, the golden bell there. He found the gold there, made it into a bell, and that basically summoned Crom. Crom destroyed the church. Place lapses into paganism. Come to the modern day now. Boom. And the new priest is going to rebuild the church there, and discovers this bell in these old ruins. Is killed before by the vengeful spirits before this all happens. So a long, convoluted way to get to it. Eventually, the players discovering all these murders, and it's every third-born child is being murdered because it's the third child, not a third of them. The players track down the bell. They're going to ring the bell to consecrate it, to thereby cast out Crom. Along the way, they've been helped by a trio of leprechauns, who then show up at the very end and just go, please don't. Because if you ring that bell, not only does it drive out Crom, it drives out us. And the players ring the bell, and the leprechauns turn into fireflies and disappear. They go back to the Airbnb where the old widow had mentioned to them that there was a charming young man who had promised to dance with her. She's like, I'll never get that dance now. One of the leprechauns had promised to dance with her. And so the end of that adventure was her crying on the steps of her Airbnb.
Oh my God. Oh.
Yeah. So I loved that adventure. I played that for some friends of mine decades ago, literally 2 decades ago. I ran it for some friends. And then it's just always been sitting there on yellow notepad, just hanging out. And when we decided to join into Gothic horror gaming, I'm like, I am bringing this puppy out. And that's my favorite one.
Oh, that's wild. Oh my gosh. I've so vastly enjoyed all of these. Like, For silliness, my favorite was the one shot we did in Louisiana. I think we were all in Maine.
Yep.
And Paolo and I were just like, we're sitting across the table, and we decided that we were just two Maine like fishermen, and we're just sitting there, just like saying just terrible things in horrific New England accents, but committing so hard to it. But because we were all around the table and we had the lights spooky low and everything, that was just a lot of fun. But my favorite one, I think, was my second or third time playing. I want to say it was in late 20. No, it had to have been in 22. Because I was here at the house, and it was 2 or 3 episodes we did, and it was Dana and Katie and me. No, not Katie. Maddie, and it was Elizabethan.
The Elizabethan one, yes.
Yeah, because we were being very silly, because like a bunch of stuff kept happening, and like jokes were being made about Dana not being like always pulling out the gun, shooting, and never hitting anything because of stuff that happens with the Delta Green games. And I had no idea, so I was just like, everything was going over my head. And it was one of the few characters I played as serious as a heart attack as I could, and it was so much fun.
You guys are fighting a Rawhead Rex.
Oh my goodness! I just lost sound on my side.
Oh, we can still hear you though.
Oh, okay, cool. It went away for a second. I played things on my side as just straight laced and Deadly Sears, and then everybody started dying with that with that terrible many-legged monster, and it was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it was a variation of a Rawhead.
Yeah, and it was, and the way we were able to play it, going back and forth between being rather lighthearted with each other, and then very serious with the subject matter. It felt so natural and so real, and it allowed true character building and acting to happen, and it was that. So that one sticks out of my brain.
Excellent.
As great.
We're getting backlogged on questions here, so here I'm going to move on to the next one.
Sure.
Inside the Drag Closet asked, what is the bucket list character you've always wanted to play but never quite worked out?
Mitch! Hello, Mitch / Jade DeVere. Inside the Drag Closet. Love your channel. I have a French character that I've always wanted to play. I played him once for a murder mystery, and that was it. He was the Marquis de Beaujolais. And I always wanted to play him. Maybe I'll get to play him in one of your games or one of Paulo's games. But I always wanted to play him at a Ren Fair, but he just, I'm always Shakespeare, so it wouldn't going to be able to work out anymore. Maybe at Scarborough I could do it, but he is a French sommelier. He's just overly outrageous. He is a sociopathic murderer, but he smiles all the time, and he genuinely wants everybody to be his friend. But it's just like, but I will tell you how I murdered everybody. It is very nice. And I got to play him one weekend for a murder mystery, and it was great. But that was again 20 years ago at this point.
I'm trying to think if there's any character role-playing game-wise that I haven't played that I've always meant to. I've played pretty much all of your standard D&D / Pathfinder ones. I would like to play once again. Years ago I had I played him, but only briefly. He was basically imagine a Lanch Connect, but a big burly Lanch Connect with a heart of gold who just he was actually a cleric of a beer god, and so he was a happy, fun-loving guy who just happened to have his Zweihander. He was a lot of fun. I would love to bring him back. So I only got to play him for like a brief period of time in a campaign, like 2 or 3 sessions, and that was it. And then the campaign sort of just because of everyone's schedules fell apart.
The one we did, I'm sorry, the one we did on the merchant ship, where Katie was the XO. Katie Bourbon. And then Sully was, I forget what his role was, but he and everybody was, all of the crew members were entranced by the Sea God. Oh my God, that one was fantastic. I loved that campaign. That one was great fun. Steve-O as the engineer down in the the Southern engineer. That was great.
Yeah, that was that adventure again was spawned by it was something weird that just sent my brain down. Container ship idea.
Container ship, not merchant ship.
Well, it is a merchant ship, but it was a big container vessel. I had recently reread Lovecraft's story. I think it's called The Temple, where it's a German U-boat in World War I, and the guy just the commander is being drawn by the siren song of this undersea temple, but and the crew starts going crazy and all that stuff. So I had recently reread that, and I was like, oh, I like it, but I don't want to do exactly that. How can I change it? And so that's where that came from. I'm sorry, I'm moving forward because I want to catch up on some of these. I know people have asked questions like 15 minutes ago, and I want to try to get to them. Favorite character from another player that you have been in a campaign with?
I wasn't in a campaign with him, but I was the Metatron for it. Alex Stompoli's Pax, his goblin character on Nat 21. That one was amazing. And then Katie Hauser's charlatan character when we're in our Old West period Society of the Silver Way games. That charlatan character is so much fun.
She was fun. I'm gonna go with that I really liked Alex in that first iteration of Gothic Horror Gaming. He was Jasper. He was he worked for the British Museum in the 1880s into the 90s, and I loved that character. He was so much fun. I also really loved Arthur's character, Arthur Rowan's character, who was an Irish boxer, bare knuckle boxer.
I got to play with that.
Yeah, he killed a man and fled, and the two of them at first were like bickering back and forth a lot because English, Irish. But by the end, after several adventures together, they were willing to sacrifice their lives for each other. It was really cool.
Aww.
Yeah, it was really nice.
Arthur's boxer character was very fun. Was my very first one where I was Dr. Hamish.
Yep, that was in that same general arcing timeline.
Yeah, that one was lovely. I enjoyed that.
That was the vampire who was in the Cholera Ward.
Yes. So great.
Let's see. Let's go down here through some other questions. Who is the character, not yours, in any campaign that you loved to dislike?
Love to dislike. Go ahead. Steve-O's character. Oh, what's his name? He has the bar.
Oh, yes.
Oh my gosh.
I'm blanking on the name at the moment, but I know which character you
Yeah.
mean. Arthur's character was Cormac.
Cormac was Arthur.
Yeah.
What was Steve-O's character's name? Oh man.
Uh,
Steve-O, if you're here, write it in the comments.
He's at a place where he has really crappy internet right now.
Okay.
He's doing
Oh,
the
yeah,
Sterling
he's up-
Renaissance Fair, and
that's
their
Sterling,
internet
yeah.
on,
There's no
where they're
signal.
staying is terrible.
There's no signal up there. No. But yeah, I enjoy how very know-it-all that character is, and also smarmy to an extent, but also very he's very reliable in the end, and I enjoy every aspect that Steve-O plays for him.
Yeah, I did like that character a lot. That story arc has not ended. It's just that I can't get all of you in the same place at the same time to finish it.
All right.
Because if you recall, that whole story arc is in the 1930s.
Yep.
And you guys went to the South Pacific. You've been to the Mediterranean.
We went to Scotland.
You went to Scotland, the Isle of Skye. There was that you were sent for a box and a key at different points by Pym. In charge of the SAVE organization. The organization is fighting the supernatural, for anybody who is new. And you're to the point where you now know where the box, because then the box got stolen from SAVE. And I think you guys know where it went now. Or you know how to find out where it went.
Okay, yeah.
I'll have to go back and watch to figure it out because it's been a while. But
are you able to enjoy watching the shows again, like watching it back? Are you able to enjoy it?
I've only done it infrequently, basically to catch up on notes for myself.
Mm-hmm.
For an actor, I'm very uncomfortable watching myself on camera.
Me too.
But I will go back through and I'll watch to remind myself of things that happened so that I get it. So I can be my own continuity editor.
Yeah.
So I will do that. And so I'll be doing that again. I enjoy watching everybody else. I just don't really like watching myself. So, but that's just, I think that's a lot of actors, a lot of performers are like that.
I hate watching myself, but then also sometimes I'll go back and watch bits, but for the most part, I'm like, I lived it. I'm fine. So, yeah.
I will say that I will go back sometimes and see video, especially of Ryan and I doing Buckle and Swash.
Mm-hmm.
And I will stop and go, no, that's really good. We did really well. We look good here and we do well here. But I have to force myself to stop my knee-jerk aversion to watching it, sit and watch it and go, no, that was good. And that's, I guess, all imposter syndrome-y kind of stuff that we all have.
Yeah.
Or a lot of us performers do anyway.
Well, also I know I've done this. I know other people have done this. I don't know how many other people, but the stereotype of watching it going, I would have done it different. And I'll be watching video of me doing the show, and sometimes I'm thinking, I'll have just enough of a remove. I'm like, I would have done that different. It's like, no, you wouldn't have, because you did it that way.
That's the way you did it.
Dude, that was you. You'll do it the same way again tomorrow, probably.
Oh, no, I think Victoria and London Fog had to leave, but I wanted to answer a question that they had further down the line. Do you just revel in tragedy? Do you just revel in tragedy? I think tragedy is a huge part of horror.
And it's a huge part of comedy.
Right. Well,
tragedy plus time equals comedy.
So I do comedy. That is my primary thing that I do for a living. And I enjoy it. And I like to think I'm fairly good at it. But things like Gothic horror gaming let me do the opposite of that and be dark and be sad and be brooding and all that. Some of my favorite roles that I've ever performed on a stage have been Edgar Allan Poe. and deadly serious. I've done Fall of the House of Usher 4 times now on stage in different productions as Roderick Usher, and I love it, and because it's so different from what I do for my meat and potatoes performance menu, that it's so great. Like, and now if I were doing tragedy all the time, I'm sure I would feel the same way about comedy, like switching it up.
My absolute favorite part I ever played on stage was Hop Frog.
That's a great character.
Absolutely loved it, because I got to go to very dark places, and then also because we treated it as a trunk show, also find the points where it's so messed up it is now funny, and then take it now that one extra step further, and it's like, oh, now it's just, it is incredibly uncomfortable and scary. And now, so people went from laughing uncomfortably to laughing to, and it's dying into an uncomfortable, and now they're just like, oh my god. It was such a joyride. And I would do the show 3 times a night, and then I would not be able to talk to people like the other cast members until I was completely out of makeup. It was like, it's like I need time to detox.
Yeah.
Getting the makeup off was a huge part of it.
When I did Poe in the Mansion at Mount Hope in the 90s, one of my directors, Tom Leighton, that some of you might know, when we started off rehearsal with improv games, but they were specifically dark improv games. So we were on the darkened stage, and we just had some stage boxes, some wooden boxes painted black, and Tom would come on up and arrange them, ask for a couple volunteers, put us up on stage and go, you're this, you're this, you're this. The 2 that I remember specifically, one time it was just me on stage, and he encased me completely in a box, in boxes. So I'm in this tiny little space. He goes, you are in a submarine. It is going down. No one is coming to help you. Go. So that was cool. And then he did another one where he had me sit in like a chair, and he had a person next to me. I was the condemned, about to be fried in the electric chair for murder. The guy next to me was the priest, and then there was another person over off to the side who was waiting to see if they were going to get a call from the warden. And he said, "That's your scenario. Go." And I remember by the end, I was screaming at the priest character, going, "God, you don't know God. When I took their lives, I was God." I'm like, where did that come from?
Oh my god.
Yeah. It was dark. It was wild. It was thrilling. I was like, oh, improv can be this too. It isn't all just 185 doctors walk into a bar thing. It can be, ooh, and I loved it.
Yeah. I years ago did, and we were doing Friday night improv, like at Mount Hope. It was the Friday night improv show before the fair weekend, and I did it with Selly, and the game, and we were doing a longer form scene, and someone said something. We're like, oh wow, that's dark, and then we went there, and I basically, he was my dad and had dementia, and we didn't know, like I didn't know this, like going in, like he got like whispered instruction, and I was like, okay, here we go, and I was told something else, and we had to find ways to play it through song lyrics, and we could only speak in song lyrics,
right,
and we were assigned the songs, and it was very ridiculous, but it was just like, oh, he has dementia, you're his, and we're like, oh, we find out, and everybody's laughing, okay, let's go. But we took it to this weird dark place, and he ended up trying to like kill himself, and I'm like stopping him. My song was Even Though We Ain't Got Money. And I'm like stopping and saying, I'm like, even though we ain't got money, I'm so in love with you, honey. And his was like he somehow, that evil genius somehow, I hope he remembers this, somehow put gravitas into like The Lion Sleeps Tonight as his song lyrics. And he's like, a weem away. And he's just like losing it. And I'm like, oh my, it was beautiful. And like, we both, like, neither of us like came back in and played for a little bit. Like, we were both like, okay.
All right.
We both came in and we're like,
time here, guys. Thank you.
yeah. Like, and then like the next thing, and like, he came in doing a dick joke. Like, all right, here, we're back.
Because that's Matt Selly.
Oh,
I got more questions here. I want to try to get through them all.
sure.
Talk about an awful, unexpected role-playing disaster you've experienced.
Oh.
I've not had one on this channel. I've had some in real life, but
Dave Mason. I'm not sure if you ever were around him. Oh, you know Dave Mason?
Okay. I don't know them well, but I do know of them.
Okay, so Dave and I were halfling brothers, and we were both sorcerers of some sort, and we were playing, I think, 3.5. Mark Schwenker, John Williams, Greg Ramsey, TJ Miller are all in the party, and Mason and I, like, we rolled up all the stats, and neither of us were what we call smart. Our intelligence scores, our wisdom scores were both all the way down. But once we started leveling up, our powers started, manifesting as like, oh, you can do more on this, you can do more with that. And we were able to have, like, in terms of halfling lore, we were able to, like, know what we were talking about. And we ended up going and fighting a dragon. And we saw it as a big dog. And we both love dogs because we had never experienced anything bigger than a big dog. And so all animals bigger than a dog are a dog. And so we're going, I'm like, he's a fire-breathing dog. He's all I ever wanted. And we turned on the rest of the party. And we're casting spell after spell after spell. We had a protective wall of water, I think, in front of the dragon, and then I just started rolling out like crazy fireballs, just rolling fireballs going around chaotically. TJ, who was the DM, was loving this. The rest of the party, though, got so angry at us, like in game and out of game. Like, and we're like, John Williams wouldn't talk to us after for several days, which was difficult because he was our boss.
Yeah.
But he's like, I will talk to you at work. We are not friends right now. And I'm like, John, we've been friends for years. No. It was like, no, I can't talk to you because you turned on your party. And we're like, we did it from a point of character. We did. And Greg Ramsey was like so angry at us in game, but then out of game, because he was also our boss. He was the cast director at the time. It was like, he was talking about it at cast rehearsals to everybody. He's like, oh my God, Mason and Dan, they just were out the most truest ways possible. They turned on their friends. It was amazing. And John was like, I'm not talking to them. You don't turn on your friends. It was beautiful. But yeah, that was disastrous.
Paul ran a game in Louisiana one year. Paulo ran it, and he was running a weird homebrew version of First Edition. Mm-hmm. So already right there, problematic. And he had so many people, he had divvied us up into two parties. And we had a good party and an evil party. And we met separately, and we were doing it, but it culminated in us fighting the good party, fighting the evil evil party. And I would say it was a disaster, role-playing game-wise, just because there were so many of us,
Sure.
so many different agendas and everything. It just devolved into like we all got along just fine, and like story wise it was fine, but rules wise it was just a disaster. And it took us like an hour to get through the first round of combat,
Oh my
that
God.
kind of thing, because it was like 6 players on a side. So that's 12 players, 6 against 6, plus NPCs and everything. It just it just
Oh my
bogged
God.
down so awfully. It was I felt bad for Paul, because I'm like, oh man, you did not expect this to go like this, did you? This is crazy. So that was an unexpected role-playing disaster, Kara, that I saw, was involved in. I had another really brief, weird one though that occurred at the barn at Mount Hope, at the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair, the Jouster Barn, where a bunch of us were down in the basement, in the bottom where the stalls are, the big open section in the middle.
Mhm.
We set up a table. We were going to play Werewolf, White Wolf's Werewolf game.
Yeah.
And we're just creating characters. We're getting ready to play. And John Williams was there. I think Matt Selly was there. I think Ryan Gelotti was there. A bunch of us were all sitting around this table, getting ready to play, talking about characters. And now we're arming up to go out on this mission or whatever. And as we're talking, one of the jousters, who I'm not going to name names because I'm not sure they should have been doing what they did. Eventually, they went on to serve their country admirably. But at the time, we were sitting there, and all of us we're discussing the differences between like a 9mm and a 45, because
Uh-huh.
we're like 21 years old and we don't know. We're all actor kids. We don't know what this crap is. And this jouster happens to be passing through the area and goes, hang on, left the room, came back and started, goes, this is a 9mm, this is a 4. And he laid out about 6 different firearms on the table, so we knew what they all looked like. They were in the he had them, and then he told us how he had them arranged. He had so it's a wooden barn, and he's in a dorm room on the second floor. And he had a shotgun in there so he could blast a hole through the floor to get down to where the lockers are, where he has 2 handguns in the locker, and then that would get him to his truck where the rifle was. And I'm just like,
Was he expecting an invasion or a zombie incursion, or like what was he
I will say that this guy later went on to do stuff with special forces in Afghanistan. We first invaded Afghanistan in 2002.
Okay.
He was part of that. So
all right. Wow.
Yeah, it was but that was intense. It was just like we're just throwing some click clacky math rocks and playing make believe. I don't know. I need an array of weapons put like unbidden, just put on the table in front of us.
Oh wow.
I mean, now that I'm older, I'm like, oh yeah, of course, these are the differences in these things, because I've used them for shows and stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay. But at the time, I was, again, I was like 20, 21. I'm like, do I need to go?
Oh wow.
We've got some more questions. Frank is asking us, what non D&D D20 RPG system is your favorite, and why?
What non-D&D? I would say for me, I've only played one other non-D&D or non-D20 system, and that's what we do on Gothic Horror Gaming when we play when we use the 6-sided die base.
Yeah, that's the rule system on that is called Over the Edge.
Okay.
That was a role-playing game. It's the game itself is very convoluted. It's weird. It's set on a fictitious island in the Mediterranean where all of these factions are coming in. And they're weird. There are various alien factions. There are Satanist factions. There are the ancient pharaohs were a thing, and they're still around, and so they're a faction. And it's all about conspiracies and everything. And because the background is so convoluted and so weird, the rule system itself is very, very simple. And I use that for here because very often I'm pulling you guys in with like a week notice to do this. So I don't expect you to learn a whole gaming system, off the fly like that. So I like that. It took me a little while to get used to it, but I did like Edge of Empire after I got used to it. Edge of Empire, if anyone's ever played that Star Wars game, one of the more recent ones, it's not a D20 system. They've got special dice that correspond to successes and failures and all that. And it was very unique, and it took me a gaming session to wrap my head around it. But once I did, it flowed really easily. So I would say that was a pretty good system. I like that one. I'll tell you which one I hated. The GURPS stuff. We were playing that in college briefly, and it wasn't the rules were necessarily bad, but because it involves so many different things. So like you have wizardry, and you have high-tech futuristic battle mech suits, and you have, and they're all combined into this huge thing. And just trying to cross-reference where the rules were, because there was no general index. They were just putting out supplements like every couple months, and like, here's a supplement on the Glitter Boys, which are these mech suits, and here's how they work, and here are the rules for them. So you're playing, you have to be like, and it's like an entirely different tier of damage system. You're like, how do I even? You're like constantly flipping through books. So that was really, really awful.
I personally did not like D&D at all, and not even like I didn't really like it, even like playing with actors. Like, I enjoyed like the groups I was with. I didn't like it, period, until I was able to get electronic versions of all the rule books. And now like D&D Beyond and everything, so I could just
going back briefly. Frank was saying that. Which story was that, Frank? Which story? The guns story, or the Dan and
Mason running towards a dragon and abandoning our party?
Oh, the guns, yes.
Yeah.
John Williams was definitely there. I remember that distinctly because I think John was running the game. He was the game master, and this guy came on in, one of the jousters, and he was just like, "Ooh." Yeah, Sir David Percival. Yeah, GURPS again. It was an interesting melange of all the genres and the styles, and you could focus on one if you wanted to. But then the rules were just so clunky, and again, nothing was codified. There were no indexes in any of the books, so you basically had to flip through and hope this weapon does mega damage. What is mega damage? Where is that? I saw that somewhere. What page was mega damage on?
Yeah.
And you're flipping through rule books trying to find it.
So for that, Blake Braswell gave me a USB in the year of our Lord 2008, when it had like probably like a whopping 10 megabytes on it. But he gave me a USB thumb drive that had all of the D&D core rule books, player's handbook, Dungeon Master Guide, a lot of the supplemental books, all on there, completely searchable. And it before electronic versions of the books would become a thing, and they weren't scanned in; they were all like just the digital versions of it.
Right.
And that was a game changer for me. That started making me enjoy D&D more, so I could just like bring my laptop and search for what I needed. Yeah. And that was huge for me. So technology helped because, especially if I didn't have an index, I could just do keywords and find what I was looking for.
Yeah, I've discovered that Pathfinder, especially now, that the campaign I mentioned, we're like level 15 because it's been going on for so long, and the rules get so finding every little thing and every plus and every minus. by doing a virtual tabletop like Roll20 and the other ones as well, they all have lovely pre-programmed determining, it will automatically look at your character sheet and go,
Yep.
Oh, you want to know your hit roll for your longsword? Well, you've got this plus for your strength, this because you're a level 8 fighter, this because you have this feat, this because you have this feat, and it will add it together for you. So you don't have to think
and D&D Beyond does the same thing for me. So
Right.
now I almost exclusively will roll, like when we're doing Nat 21, I will roll inside of D&D Beyond and not even get out my dice. And I have so many beautiful shiny math rocks.
Oh, so do I. And I keep looking for, I have an entire, if you ever get over to my home, I have in the basement, an entire giant skeletal hand bowl about this big and this deep, this big around, just full of dice.
Oh, it's lovely.
That's not including the ones that I have up here by my computer, just because, or the metal ones that I have stashed away special. It's just, I have so many dice and they're so cool and they're so fun.
So
I've got big, giant D20s just because they're fun.
They're fun. This beautiful set right here was given to me for Christmas by my sister-in-law. And it's obsidian. And she's like, I'm like, how much was that? She's like, it was on sale, don't worry. But it's obsidian. I have used this once since I got it at Christmas. Because I had occasion that, like, all right, cool, my character sheet was physically printed out in front of me. So I was like, all right, cool, I can do this. And they're gorgeous, but yeah, I use the electronic dice now. However, if anyone has, and it's a very particular D100 that I've been looking for years. I used to have one, and then I gave it away to like a 9-year-old at a fair because they were sweet. It is a clear D10, and inside of it is a colored D10, so that you don't have 100-side thing. It's basically a golf ball rolling across.
I have one of those. I have the golf ball.
Everyone has the golf ball. This one, it's a 10 inside of a 10, and it's so great.
I have a 20 inside of a 20.
Oh, that's neat.
So you can confirm your crit right then and there.
Oh, it's for Pathfinder.
Right. Yeah, I got one of those, and the golf ball. I have a D30.
I just saw one of those at the Midsummer Fantasy Ren Fair.
In the 90s, Dragon Magazine, which was the role-playing game magazine at the time, they were branching out from just D&D into all kinds of other things. I still have a couple of issues somewhere in a box somewhere. Somebody had made a D30 and then made tables to use for it because there was no use for it otherwise. So that was in there. I want to go back for a brief second because Frank is talking about where's the Crown Royal bag. I'm sorry. I'm an adult. This is a Blanton's bourbon bag that I use for when I grew up. And I don't use a Crown Royal bag. Why? How dare? This is a Blanton's bourbon bag. I
haven't used a Crown Royal bag since I was like 14 and going to the PA Ren Fair, and I only had the Crown Royal bag because my parents were like, "Oh, you need a bag. You need a little pouch with that outfit for your coins." And my dad gave me a Crown Royal bag, but then he was like, "Get it back to me when you get back from the fair." So, I have a bag that is it's a checkers and/or chessboard when you roll it out.
I've seen
all the
that.
way.
You've shown that to me. Yeah.
Yeah. This is my main game bag. Yeah, and it has all my fun stuff in it. I'm like, I have beautiful dice in here. I have D21s. I have a bunch of, I have the dice Lady Prudence made and gave me as a birthday gift a couple of years ago. I mean, so yeah, it's just neat. It's neat. And I don't get to play with this stuff very often.
There you go. So David Percival found it for you.
Oh, Sir David Percival. All right, I gotta. All right, let me screenshot this. All right. All right, Dean. Excellent. Shopping online. What a world we
Most of
live
my
in.
gaming supplies are down in our basement where we have a game room, but I do
Yeah.
have a couple things up here that I'm like, I have this lovely Cthulhu dice tower that I was
Yeah.
given. I have yet to have a chance to use this in person with a gaming group, and that makes me sad because
Yeah.
I mean, look at it. He's right here. It's Cthulhu. He's
Also,
right
it'd be very cool to use it as like this is your final boss, or you're finally facing Cthulhu, and so now here he is. How's Cthulhu ruling? How's he rolling tonight? Let's find
Let's
out.
find out, shall we?
All together now. Just too great. Like the stuff is too fun. That's the problem with it. It's too fun.
There's a company that's been around. They were in the Florida Renaissance Fair down in Deerfield Beach this year, and I've seen either them or other similar ones where they do these really lovely wooden DM screens with magnet panels that you can pull off and put on, and they're beautifully etched on the front. And I'm like, those are gorgeous. I love them. I will never have the opportunity to use them.
Yep.
Because at this point, I'm using my computer for all
Me
my
too.
screen stuff.
I will likely, if I were to get something that nice, I would put it up in front of my computer. Like I would just,
and that's
so I could look like an old school proper DM. But yeah, it'll just be in front of my computer. Just
well, I was wondering if there's a convenient way to like make one that you can put a tablet in.
That'd be nice.
You put a tablet in and then have like the little Bluetooth keyboard down in front.
Yep.
But that way it fits. Or if you could get a laptop to slide in around it,
yeah,
would also work.
Yeah, I mean, let's probably talk to our friends at 3D2U. 3D2U are making fantastic nerdy products just for you. Oh, Little Empires.
What is the D&D roller coaster? I've not seen that.
I'm assuming it is a roller coaster track that Louis has created.
For dice rolling instead of a dice tower.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's what
sense.
it is. Yeah,
makes sense. I haven't checked out Little Empires in a while, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute.
No, I'm looking around the room to see if I have any more cool gaming stuff hanging around, and like I said, most of it's in the basement.
I have something that is, to me.
Oh, it's the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon roller coaster dice tower.
Oh, very neat.
Oh, okay, from the cartoon. Oh, fantastic.
So I have something that is very cool to me, but it wouldn't really matter to anybody else. It's not a particularly nifty piece, and I actually don't have it over here. I thought I did. But I have two D20s that are very cool. They are just a dark brass, very nice, very dense, very heavy. I have used them a lot. They're not right over here. They might be on my bedside table. But I got them at a gaming store in New Jersey many years ago. And I'm in there just looking around because it was games and toys and, I'm a nerd. So I wanted to go in and look at stuff and buy some shiny math rocks, even though I wasn't in a game at the time. And I hear this guy talking to the man at the counter about miniatures. And like, oh, do you have this? Do you have this? And he had a very particular voice and cadence he's like, oh, well, do you have something that's a little bit more like this? I really need something that could just be just a little bit bigger, so it could be like a big boss against my other minions. And I'm like, is that freaking Robin Williams? And I see him, and we make eye contact, and he smiles at me, and I start to cry. And I'm 27, 28 at the time. I was on tour with a children's theater company, and he was with his daughter, and he was looking for D&D miniatures to play with his kids.
Oh yeah,
because
he was big into that.
but yeah, and we're just talking. He's like, oh, what do you do? And I told him I was an actor on tour. He's like, oh my gosh, that's wonderful. That's living the dream. He goes, even if today was absolutely terrible, tomorrow you get to do it all again, and exactly the same way, exact same lines, but with different intention. And I was like, yeah, it's amazing. And and he's like, what are you getting? I was like, oh, I'm gonna get these dice. He goes, oh, that's fantastic. And he finishes up and didn't take a picture with him because it was just like 3 minutes. Well, it was 3 minutes before the iPhone. So I just had a flip phone that I think had the world's crappiest camera on it. And like the 9 pictures I had taken on it were all blurry. And I'm like, no, this is terrible. What's the point? But just absolutely loved meeting him. And he talked to me for like 10, 15 minutes. Like he had all the time in the world while his kid was browsing the store. She comes up, hey, you ready to go? He's like, yep, I'm ready. All right, let's pay. Get out. All right, have a beautiful night. Have fun on the tour. Have a good show tomorrow. And leaves. And then I go to pay. And the counter guy was like, oh no, your dice have already been paid for. Robin Williams bought me 2 dice.
And you'll never get rid of them. That's for damn sure.
No, I shall not ever. Or if I do, it will be as a gift to like someone very special and deserving of this, and they get the story with it. It's
absolutely.
Yeah, because he like hefted them in his hand. He's like, oh, these are good and heavy. Oh, and he goes, you could dent somebody's gaming table with this, or even kill a man. And I was like, yeah, right. And so, and that's the thing I say, like when I'm looking for dice, I'm looking for something that can dent a table or kill a man. And they're like, okay, cool, of course. Why wouldn't you? It's like not an odd thing to say at all in the proper circumstances. People are like, yeah, no, I get you.
It's you've discovered the unexpected geeks that are out there. I mean, everybody knows about Vin Diesel and all the all that now. Robin Williams had gotten kind of known. He used to play, from my understanding, Warhammer. He used to play Warhammer on the set of Jumanji.
Yeah.
And he had like a Slaneshi army. And I'm like, oh, that's a cool boy with the kids.
So Kirsten Dunst, because of that, is a huge gamer now.
Yeah.
So because of being on the set of Jumanji with Robin Williams.
And poor Henry Cavill, man, he is trying so hard to get his Warhammer 40K movie made. He just that's his passion.
Really?
Love. Oh my God, he is a huge Warhammer 40K nerd.
Oh,
and
that's so funny.
He's just like he's been trying to get a Space Marine movie together for the longest time, and he's still trying. I hear things like it's in the works, it's not in the works. Maybe he's got a backer, maybe he doesn't. So can I get Space Marines in that movie? That'd be great. I just want a good representation of the Eldar in that movie. I played Eldar from the beginning when Warhammer. When I first discovered Warhammer 40,000, I was buying D&D miniatures at a gaming store, and I saw these little guys that were like these futuristic robot-y kind of guys with a chainsword, and I'm like, that's really cool. I'm going to buy that miniature just to paint it because for fun. Yeah. And I get to college, and my roommate, my first year, goes, oh, you play Warhammer? And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? It's like, yeah, there's a game that goes with those. Like, they're not D&D miniatures. It's like, I know, there's another game. It's called Warhammer 40,000. It turns out I had bought some Eldar, some Striking Scorpion Eldar, and I was just like, these are really cool. And then I just started playing Eldar. Then I worked for Games Workshop, the parent company of Warhammer 40,000, for a couple of years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
It was a wild ride.
Yeah.
I still, my display case with my Eldar army and my, I have some Bretonnians from the Fantasy Army and some Dogs of War mercenaries from the Warhammer Fantasy Battles. They're in the display case in my bedroom across the hall over there.
A friend of mine's kid has gotten into painting the miniatures, and it's a thing I never got into, but she was so proud of them. She's 9, and she has this entire army, and all of them are in different poses. And a lot of them they've 3D printed. She has a good 3D printer, so she can print them and then paint them. And all of them have very bedraggled clothes. Some of them have bindles on sticks, a can of beans, like if they're men, 3 days growth of beard. But all of them have different, very deadly weapons. If they're swords, they're all dripping with blood because she's 9.
Right, of course.
Because her father, who is her DM, who is her game master, called her and her friends a bunch of murder hobos. Being like 8-year-olds at the time, they all giggled like maniacs. Like, that's hilarious. And she's like, I need an army of murder hobos.
And so I'm going to go across the hall.
Okay.
David Percival says he loves Dark Eldar. I've got a miniature I want to show him. I don't know how it's going to come across on camera. Dan, keep him busy. I'll be right back. Let me just go grab a couple miniatures to show off. I haven't painted one in a long time, but I want to grab, especially that Dark Eldar reminds me that I want to show Sir David Percival this guy.
Well, while Tom's away, what he doesn't know is we've replaced his normal coffee with decaf. Let's see if he knows the difference. Well, everyone, I hope you're having fun with this conversation. This is the most of just like a regular podcast I think I've been part of for a good long while. We're just talking and nerdy stuff. I hope you're enjoying yourselves. If you are enjoying yourselves, you're having a good time, since I'm a host on this channel, I know a lot of the rigmarole. Go to patreon.com/nat21adventures. That's patreon.com/nat21adventures and become a Patreon saint. You can also support this guy, the Gloom Master, and Handler Z by going to patreon.com/quillandquote. That is patreon.com/quillandquote. Now, since they are in a mature rated Patreon, you actually have to type in the full URL. You cannot do a search for it on Patreon. If you want to go to mine, it's patreon.com/Shakespeare and become a Patreon of the arts, or just buy me a coffee at coffee.com/Shakespeare. That's ko-fi.com/Shakespeare.
Oh, I don't have it. I don't have yours set up in the.
No, that's okay. I know how to say things so that people know how to type it in.
Very good.
You do your thing, but I just want to show everybody, since my one character, Augustus, always has his crossbow at the ready. Crossbow. I got 2 nice Hollow Earth crossbows at the Scarborough Ren Fair. Oh, look at that one.
This is from the Louisiana Ren Fair. The guy that used to have the crossbow booth in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I asked him to make me one, and he made me this one.
That's lovely.
I haven't shot it in a while.
And I have another Hollow Earth one that's about that big, Tom, hanging up on the other wall on the other side of my desk here. But yeah.
As long as we're showing off toys.
Yeah.
I do want to show. Well, first of all, I'll show the miniatures first.
Sure.
So David, first of all, you were talking about the Dark Eldar. This is a converted Dark Eldar. There was a what was it called? War bands that they did for Warhammer Fantasy back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Basically made like a little Chaos War band. Chaos War bands is what it was called. So I converted a Dark Eldar miniature, and I don't know how well she's going to come across on the camera if I need some more light. Yeah.
Ooh, that is pretty cool.
It's really hard to see the paints on it.
She almost looks like she has a bat'leth from Star Trek.
Yeah. It's a converted miniature. There are several other pieces on there, and I just sort of...
Oh, that's a beauty.
Did that one up. This is the other member, one of the other members of the warband. Again, it's a converted piece. It's several... Let's get it in focus. Several miniatures. But, yeah, I've always loved Lord of the Rings came out while we were there. We had painting contests in the store amongst us. So, I did a Haldir.
Oh, Haldir.
Yeah.
Oh.
Little some goblins from Moria. The focus is terrible on this, but. And then my most recent fun ones that I did, these were old Warhammer Fantasy Paymaster and Bodyguard, but I did them up as like Middle Eastern, think of Aladdin, Jasmine's father kind of guy.
Yeah, the Sultan.
Sultan, yeah. There is one other toy that, now that you brought up the crossbow, I do have to show that I did get this. My friend 3D printed this. He's an engineer.
Okay.
And he 3D printed this for me. And this thing is ridiculous. And it's so awesome. So it is a black powder pistol, right? It's a big old 3D printed black powder pistol. This works. It doesn't really do much, but except go forward slightly. Oops, sorry, that was out of frame. It goes forward slightly. But what is truly amazing is that you can actually load it with this ramrod that's attached. You have to do it in the reverse order. You actually have to push it down first and then drop the ball in, unlike normal. There we go. And it is a Nerf shooter.
Oh my God, that's fantastic.
So yeah, he made this for my birthday, and it's amazing. If any of you see Ryan Gelotti, do not tell him I have this, because he's in for a surprise when next we do our show. Just
I really hope he doesn't watch this episode then.
I love the fact that it's got an actual. There's a spring and a plunger in there.
Sure.
You actually have to use the ramrod to set it.
That is fantastic.
It will not fire otherwise, and that's what predetermines it. And then it is more than a little potent.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So this little mini the single hand crossbow, and then the regular one over there, they fire the padded arrows.
Yeah.
But holy smoke, does the big one hurt?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. We got into at Scarborough 2 years ago a very unfortunate arms race that started happening amongst the cast. A couple of artisans and a small handful of the independent acts. Not during the week, but on fair days, shooting, basically having a Nerf war, but instead of Nerf guns, we all have crossbows and shooting these darts that freaking hurt.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God.
We've made some poor choices at Renaissance fairs in the past.
Yeah, and yet here we are.
In the 90s, again, I like to go back to the 90s because that's where I started. But in the 90s at the PA Ren Fair, if you've ever been to the
that's when I was
Renaissance
in high school
Fair out there, it's big grounds. There's actor housing on site and all that. Back in the mid 90s, there was very little security, if any at all. And
in the 2000s, there was very little security, if any at all.
So a bunch of us who have been on this channel, Matt Selly, myself, Ryan Gelotti, and a number of other people, we all lived in a house in the town of Mannheim, which is about 15-minute drive from the fair site. We rented out a big giant house. It was basically our frat house. And we lived there. And the one fair season, a water gun war had begun, and there were different factions. Super soakers were all the rage, and different factions had evolved. The jousters had their own faction. All the jousters and squires who lived down in the barn. The a bunch of the pirate guys who do the human powered rides, and also Xavier, who was a fire sword swallower guy at the time. They all were up behind the end game in an encampment up there. They were their own entity. We were our own entity down at in Mannheim in our house that we called Nonsuch, named after one of Queen Elizabeth's palaces. We're sitting there one fine day in the afternoon on the square in Mannheim, which you've seen in Hallmark movies. There's the square in Mannheim, like the Christmas, where there's a nice long strip down and there's a big yellow house at the end with white pillars. I lived in that house before those films were ever made. And
that was none such.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
A bunch of us degenerates all lived in there. And the parties we had. So we're sitting there one afternoon. It's like a Thursday afternoon, and we're all sitting outside on the front porch, and all of a sudden this pickup truck comes on up, and it's got the Jousters in it. We're like, oh, hey, the Jousters are coming to hang out. That's great. And then they all start piling out of this pickup truck with squirt guns and attack our house. Broad daylight, middle of downtown Mannheim, small town USA. They're all attacking us with water guns. We're trying to find ours. Sir Eric.
Emo.
I catch him trying to climb in through our powder room window on the first floor. He's like halfway in our bathroom window, and I'm spraying him down to get him out. Our neighbors, who I don't know that we ever knew their names. They were an older couple, kept to themselves, very nice people. They saw what was happening and helped us defend our house with their garden hose. Amazing.
I love this.
So this all happens. It all ends.
Well, you got to help protect the neighborhood. So yeah,
they get in their truck. They drive off, and we're like, well, now we have to go attack them tonight. That's why they attacked us. They're trying to provoke us to come and get them. So we did. So we infiltrated through that fair site. We belly crawled through pricker bushes to sneak up on the joust barn and attack them. They had tied firecrackers to string around their encampment, so we tripped them so they could hear us coming. Yeah, it was a whole thing.
Oh my God.
Fair site. And it is amazing that none of us got hurt and that place didn't get shut down for insurance reasons. Like, I understand why there's security at a fair net right now. That was incredibly irresponsible.
Oh my God.
Oh, and we were all drinking on top of that.
Of course.
So yeah, it was just a terrible idea, but man, was it fun. So fun.
Oh my gosh. That is excellent. Oh,
well,
that is excellent.
This whole conversation took a wide turn off from horror and role-playing games, but it's been a lot of fun.
I have had a great time.
Yeah, I hope all of you have had one too. Sorry we weren't gaming this week. We will be picking it back up again on August 21st. I'm hoping next week to have some of you know who this is. Devin Borkowski.
Love her.
She has been studying her heritage a bunch and knows a lot of indigenous myths and legends of North America now, which we have used in some of our Gothic horror games or alluded to in some of our Gothic horror games. So I'm reaching out to her to see if she can come on the channel next Wednesday. And hopefully next Wednesday, we'll have another discussion about things. And that will be the discussion that we will have next time around. And then on the 21st, Dan, Paulo Garbanzo, and a couple other folks, Mitch, I don't know if Mitch is still out there, hanging out in the stream. I don't want to say who the fourth one is until I'm sure that she is able to do it. But I'm hoping on a particular individual to have for that one as well. We'll see if they are available. They had to get back to me about their schedule. So we'll see if they are available to join us for that. But my name is Tom Zadoyko. I'm the Gloom Master here. And you can next find me at the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair coming up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. I'll be hosting special events for the first half of the run. And then the second half of the run, Ryan Gilotti and I will be performing as Buckle and Swash there. And then immediately thereafter, you'll find us in Louisiana. Dan, where are you at, and what are you doing next?
Most immediately next, I am going to go visit my sister in Pittsburgh. But Tuesday mornings at 11, you can join me here for Writing Sonnets with Shakespeare. And then you can next join me live at a Renaissance Festival at the Bucks County Ren Fair, brand new show, being run by Daniel Greenwolf. It is a 3-day show on one weekend only, 3 days for Labor Day. So August 31st, September 1st, and 2nd. And I believe it's in Doylestown. So go to bucksrenfair.com for info on that, or go to my Facebook, Shakespeare Approves, for information. And it's going to be great. And then after that, I go to Sparta, New Jersey Ren Fair, and then Maryland Ren Fest, and Lady of the Lakes, and then wrap up my year with you down in Louisiana.
Indeed. Speaking of what else is on the channel, tomorrow I did want to mention Handler Z will be doing her Flash Phantasmagoria, but it's going to be delayed slightly. It's going to be at 12:30 instead of noon. That should have been posted on the Facebook page in the Discord. She has an appointment that she couldn't get out of before that, and she's done at noon. She has to get back here. So it's 12:30 tomorrow, a Flash Phantasmagoria. And then tomorrow night, I will be at the In-Between that Mab is hosting. I'm going to show up as Gordon Pym from Say.
Oh!
So most of the other people aren't going to know, like the people who don't watch Gothic horror I have no idea who that is. But Mab said she is specifically making this one a spooky horror-based one. So
I love this.
It is. So Tim will be drinking with you guys tomorrow night.
That will be fantastic. Are you going to wear a simple gray nondescript suit?
Of course.
Excellent. I love this. I love this.
I got to tie my hair back, wear a simple nondescript gray suit with a white shirt and a black tie, and there we go.
Oh, that is wonderful. Oh, I love this.
So
that is excellent.
So yeah, but we'll be doing that tomorrow night. Also want to take a quick moment to thank our sponsors again, 3d2u.org. We've thrown them out there a number of times. Check them out, Jesse and Amy, 3d2u.org. Also, we've got our coming up our Destination D&D in New Orleans on November 19th through the 23rd, runadventures.com. We're going to have our castle tour next year. Check out destinationdnd.com for that. And of course, as we mentioned before, we've got a book. Melissa Lee and I have a book out. She wrote it. I narrate it. Paperback, ebook, Audible. Check out Dare by Melissa Lee. And we're hoping by the end of by Halloween to have our next one out. We are putting together the stories list to go into it. Is stories that we've given to our Patreons, to our patrons on Patreon. So we hope to have that out by the end of October. So I'm sure we'll tell you all about it here when that actually gets put together. We've got, I think, 8 of the 12 stories she wants to have included in it, plus some poems and such. So I think 8 of them are already there. So hopefully we'll have it published just in time for Halloween.
I love that.
So Dan, thanks so much for joining me.
This was so much fun. I had a great time.
Me too. I hope you guys did too. Thank you to all of our regular friends, Sir David Percival, Salier, Cara Chapel, Victorian London Fog. Frank, you came on by. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys, for stopping in, saying hi, hanging out with us here for a little bit. Salier. Sir David Percival, I want to give a special shout out to because he's often helped us with our moderator for the Twitch channel, helping spend the Twitch points to get us our helps for the game. Thank you so much for that. Be sure to check out Nat21's Patreon and become a patron saint. And our coffee. Is it coffee or Ko-fi?
Coffee, because you're buying a
coffee. Ko-fi. We also have a Discord. Be sure to check that out as well for just Nat21 in general. We don't have a specific one for Gothic horror, but we usually Handler Z will put stuff up on Discord for us. I stay away from Discord. It just eats up all the memory of my computer, so I don't put it on my computer. But she has no problem, so good for her. She does that. We will see you all next week. Hopefully, I will have our special guest lined up for that. If not, I will certainly be doing something. I brought these up, so maybe next week I will do this as well. I'm just going to give you a brief little preview. I was given these by Tom Leighton for for Baby Bat when she was born. I might have shown these before. H.P. Lovecraft's The Call of Cthulhu, in the style of Dr. Seuss.
Oh my God!
So I might be reading this next time around.
That's
how copyright works on that, so I got to double check into that.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Also, Dagon by H.P. Lovecraft as well. That maybe I'll be reading these next time around. I also have some other delightfully dark children's book, like the Bedtime Mothman book, Goodnight Goblin King, which is all about Labyrinth. So I might be reading some children's books next week if you're around.
A great one I highly recommend for anybody who is Star Trek fan or Star Trek curious. Kirk and Spock are friends.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to look that one up.
Oh my God, it's the best.
Kirk and Spock are friends. All right.
Yeah, people tend to. I haven't had to buy fun Star Trek merch for myself in years because fans and friends are just like, you need this. I'm like, thank you, I love you. So like, someone just gave me Star Trek cat pins.
Nice.
That are Kirk and Spock, and I was like, all right, great. This got to go in my bag. So I have a big pin bag.
Yeah. So David Percival, that is exactly what I was thinking. If I read these, they will be done in the overly dramatic readings like I do for song lyrics.
Oh, I love it.
So I will do that for these guys. If Devin is not available, I'll be doing that. And even if she is, maybe we'll do that at the end. We'll see how much time we have.
You at the very least need to do it as some YouTube Shorts content.
Right. Again, I'm not sure about copyright. These are owned by Chaosium, is the publisher, and R.J. Ivankovic.
Okay.
So I need to make sure that it's okay for me to read these.
Yeah.
It's not, if it were a straight up H.P. Lovecraft story, that's public domain.
Yes.
This is not.
It's based on, yeah.
This is based on it. So I'm not sure how that works. So I've got to find out if that's cool for me to read on here, or whether our channel will get demonetized because of it. So
I'm writing a Dr. Seuss style story right now, actually. For Temperance Below, the Puritan.
Nice.
Yep. So I'm helping her with this little project. Basically like a Grinch Stole Christmas, but how the Puritan canceled Christmas.
Yeah, they sure did, didn't they? They sure did.
Oh, Cromwell, you ass.
Cromwell, you jerk.
Yeah.
All right. Well, again, thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Have a lovely evening, and we will see you all next week. And until then, stay spooky, my friends.
Bye-bye.